What's up, citizens of Gotham? My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the PAL Political Vigilante in the Nova 3 studios. Come on. We're trying a new crazy thing. It looks like a Russian mafia nightclub. But that's
Do you have any cocaine, Graham?
not that I'm allowed to say. I just it happened to be on my person. I didn't bring it here.
You did just come back from South America, so.
Oh, wow. Such a stereotype, even though that's where it's grown. So we're here with Rosie Tran, from the Crypto Kitty podcast.
Yeah.
You've got your kitty ears on.
I do. I feel like people don't take me seriously because of it, but I don't care because I love my kitty ears.
I like how you willfully go, not going to be taken seriously, but I'm putting them on anyway.
It was a fun thing when we started the Crypto Kitties podcast, when I started with Esther Koo, and the podcast has taken a more serious, Esther and I parted ways, and I've taken it more to serious crypto news and things like that. But I love the kitty ears. It's fun. Crypto is like so serious sometimes.
Right. It should be. It should make it fun. It is the crypto politics.
The collapse of the US dollar, whatever.
On the brink of 2 world wars. That's World War III going to start.
Possibly three.
We could just,
trying to light it up. If the kitty ears lighten up the possible collapse of our culture and our society as a whole, then,
Hey, China's responded with an aircraft carrier into the Middle East. We've got a carrier group.
Trump is ahead in all of the polls again. Joe Biden is falling asleep as we speak. Joe Biden is entering into wars, but he's not sure. He's like,
it's the greatest thing.
He's like, how can I enter into another proxy war? Like, oh wait, is it time for my medication?
Yeah, it's just like while he's eating pudding, he's like, is there another proxy war for me to get into?
Exactly, as he falls asleep.
He just like dozes off. Well, thank you to everybody for watching and in the chat, and thank you to our moderators, Holly Horn and Blaze Silver Wolf. This is our cool new studio. So the Nova 3 is this cool new space in Hollywood, and it's this convergence of show business, tech, and like crypto and Bitcoin. This is what is happening in LA that I've noticed in the little less than a year that I've been back. Kind of post-COVID. 10 years ago, it was just show business. Nobody moved here for tech. And now people are moving here. There's a lot of tech companies are here. And then the last 2 years of like crypto really getting popular. I was at a Bitcoin conference 2 weeks ago, the Pacific Bitcoin Conference in Santa Monica that was sponsored by Swan Bitcoin. I've been to all of these, either crypto or Bitcoin only events, networking events, and I came across this space. Actually, Mona Sheikh, who's been on the show before, she showed me this.
She was just the guest this week on Crypto Kitties.
Yes, of course. Shout out to Mona.
Hey, Mona.
And this is the space. They've got this cool whole facility, and they do live streaming, and this is where we're going to do Anything Can Happen December 7th. So I'm going to have a ticket link for that soon, everybody. That'll be coming up soon. We'll be putting that for you to come in person, and you'll be able to live stream it for free, doing a company that also is part of this facility here called Stream Live. So you'll be able to watch the game show live if you're in LA Thursday, December 7th. The tickets are going to be $20. It's going to be a blast. You can be a part of the studio audience when that becomes a reality. But I wanted to bring you on the show for several reasons. We'll give a place to edit. Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante. I am here with Rosie Tran, the Crypto Kitty, and I wanted to talk to you, first of all, about sort of what is going on in the state of Bitcoin and crypto. So Bitcoin just hit
35,000.
First time in 16 months.
Everything's up 10 to 15% across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So unfortunately, even though I believe in Bitcoin and I believe in decentralized wealth for all people, and I'm anti-Wall Street, crypto doing well is actually bad as far as society, because it actually means that people are losing faith in the US dollar. It means that they're losing faith in the traditional banking system. So there's a huge, it's a positive and a negative. if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
So a lot of people don't understand what inflation is. Like we hear these like terms like, oh, there's inflation. So right now, the current inflation rate the government is claiming is like 7 or 8%. But you know, you go to the gas pump or you go to the grocery store or you look at, you know, a cost of living or rent or a house,
Mhm.
and it's like 10, 15, 20%.
Well, that needs to be addressed too, because it's like the the media and the government and whatever political party is in power, they always do this. They always say, but now it's worse than ever. They'll say, oh, there's new jobs report. There's more jobs, or inflation is a lot lower than it was. That doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything
until, like you say, you regular people, we go to the grocery store, you buy gas or whatever, and you're like, oh, this is way more than it used to be.
It's way more, but a lot of people don't understand what that means. So they just see prices going up and they go, oh, things are more expensive. And what that means from a crypto perspective is that is how much the US dollar is being devalued. So the US dollar is being valued on average 10 to 15% a year, which means that, Graham, you're working. Let's say you work, we do a comedy show together and you get paid $100 for the show. Let's just say. We know you get paid way more than $100 a show.
$1 million a show. I get $1 million a show. That's why I'm in a Russian mob dance club selling cocaine through Rosie's ears. That's how.
So let's say you get paid $100 for the show. Well, really, your $100 is only worth $90.
Right.
Because of that 10 to 15% devaluing of the currency. And so that's where crypto is really important, because you want this digital asset that's going to hold the value. That's what Bitcoin is. It's an experiment by Satoshi and all these cypherpunks to see if we can we can separate ourselves from the traditional banking system because of this corruption that happens. And so the US government's coming in just like other US governments and other governments and banks. And they're like, hey, we're going to try to control the inflation by raising interest rates. Well, guess what? They've raised interest rates to an all-time high and it hasn't done anything. It hasn't done anything.
Which is scary. I want to interject this because that could mean they go, oh, let's raise them some more. Let's get them up to double-digit numbers like there were in the 80s when the interest rates were at 12 and 14 and 15% or whatever. That's scary to me.
It is really scary because people are not going to be able to afford houses. And the reason that people are not going to be able to afford houses and other goods and services and commodities is because inflation is happening. So that means the cost of goods and services and things are going up. However, their attempt to control the price of it isn't stopping it. And so that's making the cost of money more and more expensive, which stifles the economy. And also it's hurting average people more than, you know, the billionaires and millionaires and things like that. If you're going to buy a jug of milk and it's $5 instead of $3, or a gallon of gas and it's $7 instead of whatever, but you're still making $50,000 a year or $40,000 a year, that's going to hurt a lot more than someone that's making $10 million.
Oh yeah, because it was oh, boo-hoo, my $10 million is only worth $9,900,000.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't mean anything. But now my $50,000 is only worth $40,000.
Exactly.
That's significant. And the other things we should be pointing out here is all of these, when it's like interest rates, it affects the economy and regular people on so many levels. Let's say you have a little house, a 2-3 bedroom house, and you have a little garage or something, and you're like, we want to get a home equity line of credit for whatever, $50,000. We've got $200,000 in equity, let's say. And in that 50 grand, we're going to convert our garage into an Airbnb or something, or rent it out or whatever, make it into an income property. Well, that $50,000 line of credit is going to be, the monthly payments are going to be way more if the interest rates are 7 or 8 or 9%. So you're probably not going to do that. So who loses out? You lose out. The construction people are not getting the money. Like all of these, think of how many jobs I just talked about in getting in a regular American family, just gets a little $20,000 to $50,000 home equity line of credit to make improvements on their home. Home Depot doesn't get that money. You know, the contractors don't get that money. And then if you turn it into like a revenue stream, all of that doesn't happen now.
But there's another layer to that, Graham, which people don't talk about, which is that the average person has to pay property taxes, income taxes, sales tax, all these things across the board. So say you make $50,000 and now it's $40,000 because of inflation. Well, don't forget that, you know, you have to pay 10% off the bat on everything you purchase, or 9%. In California, it's 9% for sales tax. So if you
well, let's be clear here. In California, in Los Angeles, depending on the city, where Santa Monica, like each little town can add its extra little percent. Santa
Correct.
Monica sales tax is 10%. The total amount of, because it's like,
Yes.
8 3/4 or 9% from the state. Then like the LA County puts on like a 3/4%. Then
So now your 50,000 is worth 40,000 is worth 30,000. So, okay. So let me tell you how you're being raped. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Hard.
Bend over and take it.
Yeah. But it's freedom. It's a freedom rape.
So that's the additional layer that no one talks about, is the fact that there's sales tax. And of course we need taxes to pay for services, but that doesn't actually solve then the problem. So there's an additional problem on that, which is the cost of living is high because there is a constraint on supply and demand. So there's not enough properties, or there's not enough whatever. So those problems are not solved either. So that exacerbates, which is why they've raised interest rates, but property values are still going up. So now, I live in a working class neighborhood. I do own a home. My home has gone up over double, which sounds like a good thing, but it's not, because now I'm trapped. I can't move up. I can't move anywhere, because any house I buy is going to cost literally $1 million.
And the interest rate I'm sure you guys bought at is way lower than if you sold your house today. Again, this is why the home prices are stuck in this weird spot. Because let's say you bought a house 3, 4, 5 years ago and your interest rate was 2 or 3%.
You're not leaving. You're trapped.
You're not leaving, because you're going to sell. Even if you have equity like you guys have, you're going to buy a house that's going to be way more expensive. And now you're paying 7% interest.
And now you're paying more. So my mortgage payment is $2,500. If I was to get the exact same house right now for the same price I paid 5, 6 years ago, my payment would be $5,000 or $6,000 for the same house. But that's not the cost of the house. My house has now doubled in value. So I would be paying $10,000 to live in the North Valley of Los Angeles in a working class neighborhood.
Right.
If it was today. So how can someone afford a $10,000 mortgage payment? Literally $10,000. I'm not exaggerating. I've run the numbers. So my house right now, if I were to buy it today, the mortgage payment that I'm paying is $2,500. But if I were to buy it today, it would be $10,000. Is that insane?
There's no way. I just spent. So I was like subletting a buddy's place over the summer, and that ended. And so in September, I had to find a new place. So I spent 2-3 weeks looking for apartments. I mean, 1-bedroom apartments are $2,500 a month.
Yeah.
And you're not even getting any equity. You're not even getting anything for that. Like studio apartments are $1,800. Like I saw studio apartments for $1,800, no amenities.
And this is happening across San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Austin. The prices have gone skyrocket. New York, large cities. And so,
but we should say, and folks, put it in the chat, because even though it's not even the dollar amount, it's the percentage it's gone up. But even people in smaller town, Omaha, Milwaukee, Columbus, Ohio, whatever, the rent used to be $600, now it's $1,000, and the wages there are lower than they are in California, New York.
So the wages are going up, but it's at 2 to 3%. So if inflation is 10 to 15%, and you are making a 2 to 3% raise a year, or 5%, even a 5%, which is considered a very large raise, you're getting further and further and further and further behind. And this is where I start to get very, very angry. Is I don't mind paying taxes, Graham. I love to pay taxes if I get something in return, like healthcare, like some type of product or service.
Clean streets, all that stuff.
Exactly. But I don't want to pay for multiple proxy wars. I don't want to. I mean,
but Janet Yellen said we could afford 2 wars. Janet Yellen said, if she says it, I feel better about it.
I feel better that Janet Yellen says that the U.S. can definitely afford to support 2 wars. I think the average person, and I just want to say, Graham, I relate to the average person. I am actually not the average person, because I own a home in Los Angeles. That's not average.
Right.
So I would say probably statistically, I'm in the top 10% because I own property in Los Angeles, and I'm still like struggling, barely getting by, and my husband and I both work. It's not like we are, making big money, like, making it rain or whatever. We have normal, I work and do comedy, and I have consulting work that I do. He works in IT. So it's not that we're like, making, 7 figures at a hedge fund or whatever, but we are struggling to pay the $7 a gallon for gas, and we drive a Prius.
So, we have 1 car.
And we have 1 car.
They have 1 car that's a Prius. And you can find gas, some that's under $6, but more than likely you're going to be paying close to $6 a gallon or more in Southern California.
Yeah. And again, I actually don't mind paying taxes if I'm getting some type of product or service for it, like healthcare or whatever, clean, streets or drinking water or whatever. But what's happening is I think the average person is paying, $100 at least towards these proxy wars. I think I saw a statistic that says the average family pays $90 a year to the sugar lobby. Like there's all these like, the sugar interests in America. So it's like, there's all these like special interests. There's all these like weird, factory farming lobbies and other like weird subsidies. Sorry, I want to reword that because I don't want some like nitpicky person. She said it wrong. $90 a family towards the sugar subsidies that go towards the sugar
subsidies.
Yeah, sorry.
Makes sense.
Sorry, don't get mad at me. So I said the right thing. So yeah, so there's all sorts of weird tax incentives that we're giving to like big sugar and like wars and like other things that it's like, how did this even happen?
Yeah. And then you sit there and, you drive through Los Angeles or any other city. I mean, I just moved into a nice building with a pool and a hot tub and all these amenities. And it's nice. And 2 blocks away under the freeway on both sides is tent cities and people just in abject misery and filth. And, the city sets up like a place to wash your hands or whatever. And they've got mobile showers, but it's like unreal. And Los Angeles, like a lot of big cities, is very similar to the federal budget in the sense that like Los Angeles Police Department gets 54% of the city's operating budget. And what is it going for? Military grade equipment. I mean, up armored vehicles. I mean, like what is the and it's $3.1 billion a year for $3.1 billion for a city. You would think there'd be no crime ever. Like done. The crime's over in Los Angeles. And instead it's like, because that money is so misallocated and it's just to harass the homeless. And then again, this is beyond just the government problems, is these on every street corner in Los Angeles, and this is true in other big cities in America, there's a new fancy high-rise being built right next to a tent city. And it's like you've got these hedge funds, and this is again why our government is so corrupt. These hedge funds have gone out, and they started doing this after the 2008 crash, buying up properties, and either the people that were facing foreclosure or short sale, they bought those up. So they've deliberately kept units and housing off of the market to drive up the rents. So they're deliberately, they're manipulating the market. And it's so maddening. I'm seeing new buildings all over Los Angeles. You'd think that rents should be dropping. If we released every unit, condo, apartment, house, put them on the open market, the rents would come drastically down, but they're deliberately inflated and we're all just being squeezed. It's nuts.
Yeah. And well, this goes back to what we were originally talking about. Sorry, guys, we went on a tangent. Is why is crypto important? Why is Bitcoin important? And it's important because it is a digital asset. It's a way to hold value. It is very volatile right now because of the fact that it's still in its infancy. It took, it's a brand new digital monetary system. So it's not going to be perfect overnight. But the majority of, first of all, I don't like to do price predictions, but I do think that it's going to go to the moon in the next few years because of the fact that the US dollar is collapsing at a very alarming rate. And also, there's a lot of mainstream adoption, specifically in South America, because a lot of countries in South America have had this currency collapse. They're like 10, 20 years ahead of us with currency collapse.
They've had 40% inflation.
They've had 40% inflation. And so they're like, ooh, this is scary. And so the USD was always the safe haven currency. And now that the USD is, and I don't mean USD coin, I'm talking about the US dollar, is actually collapsing pretty quickly. It's scary. And people are like, we need a safe haven currency. That is not going to be a petrodollar. That's not going to be.
Oh, God. Yeah. And the BRICS countries are Iran and Saudi Arabia have joined BRICS. So now there's this huge economic bloc, and they're not being elitist like America and NATO does. They're doing stuff like anyone can join BRICS. Anyone can join it. And so it's like Iran and Saudi Arabia have buried the hatchet. They're all agreeing we're getting off the petrodollar.
Yeah.
Like this is not this is going to, I mean,
This is crazy. Yeah.
this is crazy. I wanted to show actually, there's a couple things I wanted to show before I get into that article, since we're talking about, I brought this up yesterday on my live stream, but it's worth talking about again. What Jamie Dimon.
Oh, my favorite person.
My favorite. We love JP.
My favorite person that said Bitcoin is a scam, yet he's hoarding Bitcoin.
Yeah, he's hoarding it. So JP Morgan CEO warns the world may be facing the most dangerous time in decades.
Oh, thanks for letting us know.
Thanks.
As you hoard Bitcoin in your golden tower, literally.
Yeah, he's hoarding Bitcoin. This thing 5 years ago, he was like, Bitcoin's horrible. And now he's like, I own a lot of it. So yeah, he basically said the escalating conflict, meaning Israel and Gaza, are far-reaching impacts on energy prices, food costs. This is everything we're talking about.
Everything we're talking about.
Energy prices, food costs, international trade, and diplomatic ties, he said, as JP Morgan Chase, America's largest bank, reported earnings for the latest quarter. And just take a guess. Do you think they had a good year or a bad year?
Good.
What? How did you know that? Net profits at JP Morgan jumped 25% to $13.15 billion in the 3 months to the end of September. That's just this year. This year's not over. And because revenue at the bank rose 22% to $39.87 billion. They also, don't forget, back in March, took over First Republic Bank after the whole Silicon Valley Bank thing, which failed following weeks of turmoil in the banking sector earlier this year, and helped drive net interest income for JP Morgan Chase.
Can we talk about what's really, really scary, though, with the crypto markets and the Bitcoin markets, which is that I would consider myself an independent because I both political parties scare me for different reasons. And
why? They're so great.
But
one's like fascist, and then one's like fascist with a rainbow flag.
I do have a lot of progressive views, however, and it really scares me that people that I really, really used to look up to, like Elizabeth Warren, are so bought by Wall Street. It's not even funny. She has made it her mission to go on an anti-crypto, anti-Bitcoin crusade. I don't know if you've seen the most recent tweets from her.
What has she said now?
She's just constant. It's constant. It's to the point where I'm like, are you and Jamie Dimon having sex? Like, what's going on here? Are you guys having an affair? Like, what is happening? And, I started doing some research because I really liked Elizabeth Warren. I really, thought she was great. I was like, oh, she's like a female Bernie. And I was really excited. And the strength at which she has been defending Wall Street is just mind-blowing. It's insane. It's actually insane. And then you start looking at things like, publicly available documents about net worth. And you're like, well, how did I thought she was just a professor. How many millions is she worth?
Right.
Wait a minute. Where'd she get that money from?
Remember that when going into the 2020 election, they were like, Bernie Sanders made $1 million, like selling his book. And everyone was like, oh, Mr. Socialist made $1 million. He's like, yeah, I made $1 million. And yet not a peep about the fact that Liz Warren, Nancy Pelosi, and other Republicans as well, Republicans, Democrats, are worth tens. Nancy Pelosi is worth $100 million. That's all from insider trading. It is the most corrupt. Our government is so corrupt. Both parties are bought and paid for. And it's
it's just really sad because she's claiming to be out for the little guy, and everything that she's saying about Bitcoin and the crypto markets in general, she pointed to.
Let me just say this real quick. Any politician that gets money from which is like 99% of them, saying they're out for the little guy, that's just the tip of political statements. Liz Warren's just going to put in the tip, just the tip.
It's pretty bad though. So now her crusade is that Bitcoin and crypto are funding Hamas. And
I did a story on that. That's been so debunked.
It's been debunked.
Hamas in April said we're not taking crypto anymore, not Bitcoin anymore, because we don't want to be tracked. Right?
That's exactly why Bitcoin and crypto is so awesome, because you can track the wallets on the ledger, on the public ledger, and it's transparent. And so Liz Warren is now on this crusade. She's been tweeting about it. It's been in the news that even though it's already been proven that, less than 4 or 5% of the donations were through Bitcoin and crypto, that's the dangerous percentage, and it's very dangerous. And crypto and Bitcoin, I mean,
it's more trackable.
But that's not the point. The point is, Why is she on this weird crusade? Why is she? And you have to think, who benefits if the little guy doesn't know about a decentralized banking system where you are in control of your own money? Jamie Dimon, the Wall Street bankers. And so then you start wondering, why is Liz Warren, this allegedly person for the people, so obsessed with anti-Bitcoin, anti-crypto? So then you start following the trail and you're like, wait a minute.
And gee, let me guess. So crypto is financing Hamas. What could the solution that these leaders would provide? Would it be a central banking digital currency that we all have to use?
That's what they're going for. That's what they've been working on for years, even though they said that, digital currencies are dangerous. Now they want this central bank currency that they've been working on to push on everyone. So guess what, Graham? You know how you were demonetized on YouTube? Well, guess what? If you say something the government really doesn't like, guess what happens to your digital FedCoin
they
wallet?
Can just take it. They can just freeze all
Guess
the money.
what happens to your digital FedCoin wallet when Graham Elwood starts chit-chatting about the government and they don't like it?
Yeah.
Boom.
Gone.
You
said something we don't like. We're now just, you're going to open your phone up and, your wallet that you were...
It's frozen.
It's frozen. You were forced to use this central banking digital currency, and now they're going to freeze it. Does that make you trust Liz Warren more? That is, again...
It's really, really scary that she's pushing it so hard. And I don't want to sound naive, but I really lost faith in her. And I really lost faith in these alleged progressive warriors
such thing.
Who are out for the little guy when the stuff that they're saying doesn't match reality.
It doesn't. There's no such thing. I have no faith anymore. One of the ways I lost faith, when Bernie just rolled over, he didn't fight hard enough. When I went to opensecrets.org, which is a website I mention often on this show, please go to it. If you ever for those of you who don't know, opensecrets.org, the FEC, Federal Elections Commission, it's transparent. Any donation, $2,000 or more, you have to declare. Right? You can less than that, you can just whatever. But if you, Rosie Tran, give $2,000 to a candidate, you have to declare. And so it's listed. Rosie Tran gave $2,000. If you create a PAC of your company, right? So opensecrets.org is non-for-profit and it's nonpartisan, and it just shows who got money from whom. So go look up, folks. This is a fun one. 2020 defense industry. The top 3 getters. Top 3 getters of that dirty war money. That's why I love having a comic on the show live. It's better than Skyping it because you just make fun of me for saying getters. Like we're talking about all this serious stuff, and then only a comic would go getters. Get that more money. Get her done.
The collapse of the U.S. democracy. Get her done.
Get that central banking digital currency, boy. So the top recipients of defense money, in the 3rd position, $800,000, Bernie Sanders. Yeah, there's no Santa.
Sad.
Number 2,
sad.
It's so sad. Number 2, Donald Trump, 2.7 million. Number 1, Bernie was 3, D Trump 2. Number 1 at 3.1 million. Who do you think it was?
I don't know.
God. Joe Biden.
Oh, okay. I don't know. It seemed like you were going to throw a twist in there. I was like, who is it?
Who's it going to be? Linda Ronstadt.
I don't think that's a good idea. Hinkenlooper. I don't know if that's a good idea because he probably forgot he got it.
My point in this is, I want to say this real quick, that whenever someone says to me, oh, these parties are so different from one another, I go, look what they gave to everybody. They hedged their bets. They gave a bunch of money to Liz Warren. Anyone they thought had a shot. Those top 3 had the best shot at the White House.
So they got that defense money.
They got that defense money. Trump and Biden got essentially the same amount of money.
I like how the defense industry had more faith in Bernie Sanders than Joe Biden. That's scary for Joe.
They gave more money to Biden than they did to Trump by $400,000. So that is like, what does that tell you? That's why Janet Yellen's like, well, we can afford 2 wars.
It's so sad. It's so disheartening.
Let's answer a super chat real quick. Let me just do this. Alfred Das Liebe, shave your knuckles for justice. CryptoKitty and Graham, thanks for covering topics with humor. I follow news alone with cat ears headband, but it doesn't seem to work. Yeah, we're trying to cover it. This is what, and I've been wanting, since COVID, I haven't really done many in-person interviews. I used to do more in-person interviews before COVID at All Things Comedy. But since I started coming to this place, I saw this and I was like, oh, I want to use this place more. So we're hopefully going to be doing, I don't know, maybe once a month, these in-person little, Russian mafia things. So thank you for supporting our show. If there's any other super chats, put them in there and I will answer. But there's another thing I wanted to,
I just want to share one more thing that's really, really important, because Liz Warren and all of the progressives that are helping the little guy, I just want to say something that they're pushing really, really hard, bigger than FedCoin. And they're trying to really, really push regulating the crypto industry, which is fine. But the way that they're pushing it is, it should only be for accredited investors. So that's important, because to be an accredited investor, you have to have $1 million net worth or higher. So basically they're saying that crypto is legitimate, but only super rich people should be able to invest in it, not the little guy. So I think that's really interesting from these alleged progressive people who are out to help the little guy, that they think only millionaires and billionaires should be able to invest in cryptocurrency.
We know that's a response to the GameStop.
Yeah. It's
like, we can't have these hooligans going online and scamming the system the way the rich people have.
It is a direct correlation to the GameStop thing, which we were talking about. They don't want the little guy to get ahead. They don't want the little guy to share financial information online and, learn about investing and this and that. It's only for the rigged buddies of.
Yes. They basically are like, hey, you guys cheated better than we did. You can't do that. It's like, that's what they said. Like it's
so for those of you who don't know, the GameStop thing was when a bunch of retail investors, so average Joes, went and kind of did a short squeeze on Wall Street hedge funds.
They got together on what
through Reddit.
On Reddit, and said, let's do this. And I'm really bummed I didn't know about it.
I know.
I would have put $1,000 into that and gotten 40 back. I mean,
it was more about the message. It was more about putting that short squeeze on the Wall Street hedge fund guys that were betting that a company would fail and wanted to make money off a company failing.
Yeah. And the thing that's so noble about it too, it started by gamers going, I love GameStop. Just like it's from my childhood. You're taking away my childhood. Like, I want to go there. And it's like, and then they like, well, we like AMC movies. They were just like fighting for all of these companies that they had fun at, in their teenage years.
I know. It was really,
so
really
great.
Sweet. Yeah.
Matt S. Shaving Knuckles for Justice. Get on it. You guys are effing funny together. Thank you so much. That's what we can be funny through a video chat, but there's something about, you know what I mean? There's just something about when you're in person. It makes for, there's better energy. Hit the like button. Everybody, thank you, Matt S., for supporting our show. So this is, I wanted to talk about this too, in terms of specifically the Bitcoin market. I admittedly, in the last 2 years, have become way more of a Bitcoin maximalist.
I'm a total maxi.
Yeah, I'm gotten rid of most of my altcoins. I've either cashed them out for fiat to just pay bills. And every time I cash some out, I always put some into Bitcoin, just because I'm like, and I'm not like can people make money in crypto? Sure, you can make money in the stock market, but it's too volatile. Bitcoin they can manipulate Bitcoin enough, but they can't corrupt Bitcoin the way an altcoin can be absolutely corruptible. I don't know, like, who's running the show at crypto.com. Do they have 1 million coins tucked aside? Are they going to pump and dump?
Also, you've been hanging out with Max Kaiser, so you definitely definitely been orange pilled hard.
Max is so orange pilled me.
You've been orange pilled hard. I am pretty much a Bitcoin maxi, but I do support Ether and I do support a few altcoins. But I definitely, Bitcoin is the safe haven digital gold.
I'll tell you this right now. This is my strategy, not financial advice.
Yeah. Hashtag not financial advice.
Not a financial advisor, just a comedian talking to someone with cat ears in a Russian mob in a nightclub in Hollywood. Is I am just hodling Bitcoin for the long haul. My ETH and a couple other altcoins, when they make a run, I'm cashing out. I'm going to cash. I'm waiting. I got a certain number I'm waiting when they hit these numbers because there's going to be a crypto bull run.
Yeah. Probably after the halving next year.
After the halving, a year from now, everything's going to be running through the roof. And I'm like, this little crypto chunk, that's like going to be my down payment on a house somewhere or something like that. So that's my thinking. And then I just keep buying little pieces of Bitcoin whenever I can. $25 here, $50.
When it went to 15,000, I was like,
I bought a huge bunch of it.
Yeah, I didn't have any extra money lying around, but I wanted to so bad, and I knew that this bull run was coming, and it's going to go up even more because the halving's happening in April. Mm-hmm. So for those who are watching and listening and don't know what that is, every few years,
4 roughly,
it becomes harder and harder to mine Bitcoin. I think 18 million have been mined. So there's like just 2 or 3 million left.
They literally cut in half the number of Bitcoins that can be mined.
Yeah.
It's built into the equation.
It gets harder and harder.
Yeah. It's basically so, but I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to talk about, this right here. That is, so where is it? Let's get this on the screen. We're actually going to make this another segment.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the Pow Boom Political Vigilante with special guest, friend of the show. What's your name again?
You've only known me for 20 years.
Is it Rhonda? What is it? No, it's the crypto kitty, Rosie Tran, who I have known, for 20 years. And you were actually one of the people that got me to wake up to Bitcoin and crypto. There was a group of you. I was like, it was an orange pill gangbang. And that's what happened. You guys just pinned me down and put an orange ball gag on me. It was a weird event. I was high. I don't know what happened. No, but you're one of the people. You came on the show and we were like, Graham, I remember you said to me, you go, I'm a little shocked, Graham. You're this big lefty socialist against the central banks, and you don't really know Bitcoin and crypto. And I was like, you're right. And several people in the chat were like, Graham, how are you fucking Bitcoin? And I started paying attention to it because I owned crypto and didn't know what it was because I owned the Ray token from Rockfin. Thank you, everybody watching on Rockfin. So now that we're following it, and now I've gone full Bitcoin maxi.
I'm full orange pills for sure.
Full orange pill.
Sure. And sometimes when you listen to some of these talks with Max Kaiser or Michael Saylor or Raoul Pal, you like get deeper sucked in. Like you're like, yeah.
Dude, go to El Salvador where they're literally like, by law, altcoins are called securities. Yeah. Everybody down there calls them shit coins. Everybody. That's whole country of Bitcoin maxis. And anyone that owned altcoins, they like sold them, converted them to Bitcoin. That whole country is one big orange pill. And that's largely due to a bunch of people. Max and Stacy very much helped, but Michael Peterson, who created Bitcoin Beach, he has a Bitcoin Beach podcast, and he was the surfers that made El Zonte into Bitcoin Beach. It's really fascinating. But so
as you're doing a documentary on
I'm raising money about a documentary about it, which is cool. That is evolving in a very cool way. I had a very big meeting last week at a big production company. I can't say their name, but things are moving. And I will be in El Salvador for the Adopting Bitcoin Conference, which is November 7th through the 9th. November 8th, I'm doing a show with Mona Sheikh, who's been on the show, and Max Kaiser. Right? He just tweeted out that he's going to do the show. How cool is that, Max?
Is he doing Political Vigilante or are you doing a stand-up show?
Doing a stand-up show.
Where?
In San Salvador at the
conference. My God. That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh. Max Kaiser is going to be on the show. It's like, I talked to him when he was up here for Bitcoin, Pacific Bitcoin. And I hung out with him and Stacy, and he was like, yeah, I'll do this show. This sounds rad. So,
good for you.
And if you go to grahamelwood.com, if you're going to be in El Salvador for the first week of November, you can save 21% using Elwood 21 coupon code. So that's a shout out to Satoshis. But so you and I both become Bitcoin maxis. As we were talking about earlier, the crypto markets and Bitcoin markets going up and down. It could be good or bad. Part of it is we're watching the dollar collapse. We're watching, we're watching America collapse.
I don't know why that's so funny to me because so sad. I'm not laughing that that our democracy is collapsing, but it just sounds so what's the opposite of utopian?
Dystopian.
Dystopian. It just sounds so dystopian when you say it.
It's hard to swallow.
When you're like, oh, the collapse of our democracy,
I know.
whatever.
We're just saying it like, it's been a rainy weekend, like a lot of snow this summer or whatever. Like, it's just, it's really like when you say it out loud and we're living
I'm like 1984. What's happening?
It is. But I wanted to talk to you about this because what are your thoughts on, I'll bring this up. So one of the things that some people theorizing spiked the price recently to 35K was the BlackRock ETF. Now it keeps saying it's going to happen. It's a rumor, and that spikes the price. And now they're saying it's not happening. So this was just in CoinDesk, right? So Bitcoin price drops 3% after BlackRock Bitcoin ETF pulled from the DTCC's website. So I have mixed feelings about, I just don't like BlackRock. I don't like what they stand for. They're one of the big hedge funds that own all this real estate have deliberately jacked up the prices, as we were talking about in that earlier segment. But then as a Bitcoin maxi, institutional money flowing in is going to make the price go up, and it's going to make any of our Bitcoin that we have is going to jump up. And when Bitcoin is at $1 million, a little piece of Bitcoin you bought for $20, $30 is going to be worth 50 grand or 100. Like literally, it's going to be like, I mean, I see people saying if you own at least one Bitcoin or more, you're going to be a millionaire in the next 5 years. That's significant for regular people like us.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this BlackRock ETF and specifically, they keep saying it's going to happen. That doesn't, it's going to happen. And then what do you think of where we're at with it and its significance in terms of Bitcoin? Well, now my face is blocked. That's really weird.
I have really mixed feelings about the BlackRock ETF for several reasons. First of all, do you want the positives or the negatives?
Roll them out, kiddo. Give them all to me.
So the positives are that it's going to be a big way for institutional money to get in. Maybe your grandpa retirement, grandpa retirement account, or a teacher's pension. They might not feel comfortable buying Bitcoin or opening an account in exchange, or there might be some bureaucratic system in their pension plan or whatever where they can't go to a Coinbase or go to that type of exchange to buy Bitcoin. So
that process is just too confusing to them.
Yeah, because they're old. So, they have a Vanguard account or they have, a Bank of America account. It's just easier for them to buy that BlackRock ETF. And
I'll say this too, like I have a good friend of mine, very kind of known him for years, very great friend of mine. And he's a Reagan Republican. He's a conservative. He's not a nutbag Trumper. Like he voted for Biden because he's like, Trump's out of his mind, which I was like, yeah, well, Biden is a Reagan Republican. And I was telling him about, raising money for the documentary to go to Bitcoin in El Salvador. And he, made some joke like, oh, what are they using? Skittles for money or whatever? And I started laughing because I didn't take it. His name is Marty. I said, Marty, you're one of my more conservative friends. It doesn't shock me that that's your response. And he's kind of, he's just ball busting. He's a Chicago guy. And I said, but Marty, you probably own some of it and just don't know. He goes, no, you're right. I have a investment fund through one of these big companies, TD Ameritrade or whatever. And in it, they send them a whole document, like a money market fund.
Yeah.
And it's like, you own this stock and this stock and this stock and a little bit of Bitcoin. So that's what you're saying is my friend, the conservative, going to get a Coinbase account and have a cold wallet? No way. No way.
And a lot of these large institutions like the firefighters pension or whatever, it's just easier for them. And it's a big, bureaucratic mess to like open a Coinbase account for them, this and that. So it's going to definitely be a flood of institutional money, which is obviously going to benefit everyone that owns Bitcoin, which is hopefully everyone listening to this podcast owns a little bit.
Just put 5 to 10% of it.
Just a little bit of money.
5 to 10% of your money. That's it.
So that's positive. That's obviously positive. It brings some legitimacy to it, to people that might think that crypto or Bitcoin is like this weird, like internet rainbow money, so it does bring a lot of legitimacy to it, and it makes it more mainstream. So those are the positives.
Yeah.
The negatives are, I don't want the SEC, another corrupt government and federal agency, telling me what people can and can't do in trying to add more weird, corrupt regulations, because they did not regulate Sam Bankman-Fried and his Ponzi scheme.
And his parents' corrupt Ponzi scheme and the $30 million that he gave to the Democrats.
Exactly. And so,
but the SEC did, when they heard rumors that Bernie Madoff was corrupt, they just called him and asked him, and he said, no, I wasn't. And they said, that's good enough. That's the thorough investigative report.
Or with the GameStop scandal that we were just talking about, they did not, punish Robinhood for shutting down.
They shut it down.
Trading and allow and temporarily adjusting the price so that Citadel Capital and all these hedge funds were protected. But they tried to punish the little guy, and they actually, it's just terrible. So I don't think the SEC is good at doing its job. Gary Gensler is on a
no. They are good at doing their job.
Okay.
Because their job is actually to protect the rich, corrupt a-holes that run the system. Like, that's the thing. They tell us, oh, they're keeping things fair for the little guy. No, the system is not broken. It's working perfectly. It's working perfectly for them. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're a politician getting kicked
How much is Jerome Powell worth? Like $30 million?
The system is perfect for them. It's laid out. The SEC is the great fake. The SEC is like a professional wrestling referee.
Okay.
That just goes, whoa, hey, and you just hit me in the hair with a chair, and I go, whoa.
I don't even know if you know the craziness with Gary Gensler. So Gary Gensler was actually pro-crypto. He is, before he became the head of the SEC, he was a professor, and he actually understands Bitcoin and crypto very well. And there's speeches that you can find recorded where he is praising Bitcoin and saying what an amazing thing is. And all of a sudden, when he became head of the SEC, all of a sudden now he has changed his tune. It's the most corrupt thing that's ever happened. It's funding terrorism.
And he owns a shit ton of it. You know it. He's got 10,000 coins that he bought for $1 or whatever. He does.
Probably at a federal government auction. Because the federal government actually, I don't know if you know this, is one of the largest owners of Bitcoin, because they confiscated it from innocent Bitcoin people that they said were doing terrorist activities. Do you know about this?
Oh yeah, no. One of the biggest holders of Bitcoin, MicroStrategies now might be the biggest, but the federal government, they own 150 or some thousand coins, full Bitcoins.
Yeah. So I'm very mixed about the BlackRock ETF. I also have my own feelings about BlackRock, as they are doing what you said, but they also own a lot of trailer mobile home parks, which they've jacked up the price, and people are trapped there. They can't leave. So if you're paying $400 a month in a mobile home park, now it's like $800.
BlackRock was one of the companies that went around after 2008 and bought up all these homes.
They gutted everything, right?
And they bought up the homes and then didn't put them back on the market. They rented them out. So they did two things. One, there's one of the reasons the real estate prices have gone up so much nationwide. There's not as much inventory. The reason there's not as much inventory is companies like BlackRock have literally 1 million homes that they're not putting on the marketplace. So it's like, that's why none of us can afford a home. Like, you're lucky you were able to buy one. I bought one and I lost it. I can't buy back in now. There's no way I'm buying back in, unless when Bitcoin goes to $1 million a coin, then maybe I can buy back in.
But then you have to decide, do I want to? And when Bitcoin goes to $1 million, you'll be in a great position, because you can decide, do I want to sell it and buy a home, or do I want to keep my Bitcoin and maybe stake my Bitcoin and get some interest?
I think,
and maybe continue renting and stake my Bitcoin.
Well, I'll tell you what. One thing I would consider doing, and when I watch Michael Saylor, is he's like, never get rid of your assets. When Bitcoin goes to $1 million a coin, I'm probably going to just get like a $200,000 line of credit against the Bitcoin and use that to buy a house. And then any house I buy now, my whole thinking was, I grew up Midwest, and my parents were, Midwestern. They came from an era where you could just go to college, get a good job, and you're fine. Right? Right? Isn't that hilarious?
What was that? No, I'm just kidding.
Grubhub didn't exist because you didn't need 3 jobs to pay your bills. I mean, literally, that's just when they, my dad, the first house he bought in Madison, Wisconsin, he probably paid 15 grand for it, 20 grand for the house, for a 3-bedroom house.
Yeah.
And he was able to do that on a professor's salary. You know, he was making 22 grand a year in the 70s as a professor. You could live off of that. You know, gas was 50 cents a gallon. But so one of the things I would do, and I would rethink now, is now having read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and
that's DeFi, by the way. That is how decentralized finance works. Is you're your own bank. So Bitcoin goes to $1 million, and you don't have to go to a bank then and borrow money. You just borrow money against your Bitcoin and against yourself. You don't have to fill out 1,000 paperwork forms. You don't have to do KYC. You don't have to check that you're not a terrorist.
No, I get a line of credit. I would give, you give it to some custodial company like MicroStrategies or something like that, where you own your keys, or you can pull it out of there whenever you want, or Swan or one of those companies. And then I would buy property so that it's cash positive. That's the only way I'm buying again, is if it's like a house with a guest house. I'll live in the guest house and rent out the main house and make money. Or I'm going to buy a duplex, or I'm going to buy a piece of land where I can build a little Airbnb near the beach or something like that. The only way I'm buying property now is use my crypto to do it, or my Bitcoin to do it, and have a positive cash flow. Because we all have to learn and think like them. That's all they think about is asset protection. And this is why the rich don't pay taxes, because they acquire assets. And then imagine you acquire all this real estate and Bitcoin and stocks or whatever, and you have $10 million in assets, and you take a 20% loan to value, which is $2 million. And then you know what you do? You pay yourself $200,000 a year for the next 10 years. You pay zero taxes because that 200 grand a year is not income.
A loan. Yeah,
it's a loan.
We have to protect ourselves, because obviously
the system is stacked against us.
Exactly. You have to protect yourself, and there are tools out there to protect the little guy. And why shouldn't we use these tools for ourselves when they're using our money to pay for 9,000 wars?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the questions here, if it goes to $1 million of Bitcoin, it will be worthless because $1 million will have the value of 1 cent. That's a fair question. Maybe, but you don't know. There's a lot of factors. If the cost of goods and services is going through the roof, and gas is $15 a gallon and a gallon of milk is $20, then yes, that $1 million of Bitcoin, it is a hedge against inflation, in the sense that the value of Bitcoin will go up. Your $50,000 a year will lose value, as we showed already in the earlier part of the show. Like if you're making $50,000 a year, and gas goes from $6 to $10 a gallon, that $50,000 a year is worth a lot less. But I just want to make this point real quick. But if you have $50,000, let's say you own let's just use it. You own one full Bitcoin that's trading today at about 33,000, let's call it. And gas goes to $10 a gallon, but your Bitcoin goes to 500,000 a coin, $1 million a coin. That is actually the hedge against inflation. This is why having an asset that appreciates in value is a hedge against everything else going up. I hope I made that clear, but I'm not an economist. Go ahead. Sorry, you were saying.
No, I just wanted to address his comment that does make sense. It's like, there's certain African currencies that have been devalued by 90% and everyone's a technical millionaire.
Right.
But one of the reasons that does not apply to Bitcoin is because Bitcoin is a global currency.
Right.
So people in Venezuela can buy it. People in France can buy it. You can buy it all over. So the rate of the current currency devaluing doesn't affect it as much.
And again, this is what I'm seeing wealthy people and Bitcoiners do. I saw them, and they're doing this in Latin America, because in countries in Latin America, not just El Salvador, Venezuela, you can go down there and buy a house for 100 grand, 150, a 3-bedroom house for $125,000, 4-bedroom house. I mean, you can live, the fancy beach houses are like $400,000 to live by the beach. I mean, in Santa Monica, you cannot get a 1-bedroom condo, like a 550 square foot condo, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, for under $1 million. Oof. That is preposterous.
I hope you don't Google your old condo.
No. That's why I don't drink. If I drank and Googled my old condo, it would just be like, oh, maybe I am going to buy a firearm. But let's also talk about, I'm going to bring this back up from CoinDesk. And
so the ETF, I mixed. Back to the original
the ETF
question.
We're mixed on the BlackRock ETF.
There's pros and cons.
Yeah, there's pros and cons. Let's talk about this article. Now, this came out a couple weeks ago in September, but because you and I have talked about how another thing that's widely debunked and Liz Warren refuses to accept it. Bitcoin mining is bad for the environment,
Yeah.
So look at this. How Bhutan, which is a small country in like Southeast Asia, became a carbon neutral hub for crypto mining. Bintir's new 100 megawatt facility is the first phase of the company's Bhutan project for the small mountainous nation. The Kingdom of Bhutan, which is very small. It's near Nepal. It's a very small nation.
It's a very peaceful, what is it, Taoist? Or is it Taoist or is it Buddhist?
I think it's Buddhist. It might be kind of a mix, but it's near...
I know they're the only country in the world, which is so sweet, that has a happiness. So how we do GDP, they measure it through happiness, not money, which is so sweet.
It's so sweet.
They have like a happiness index that their government measures to see how happy the people are.
How happy is it? Because being happy is important. In this country, it's like, how much money did you make? How many guns do you own? How much stuff do you buy? So this is a more evidence of how it's a thing, Rosie. And again, I got to give you credit for when you first came on. One of the first times you came on my show, and I brought up people are saying it's bad for the environment, and you said the people involved in Bitcoin and in crypto in general, most of them, especially the Bitcoin people, they're wanting solutions to problems. So they're going to find solutions, and they just were like, we're on it. And they're taking like excess energy and using that for Bitcoin mining. There's a
solar power, that the Navajo Nation article I sent you.
Yes, you sent me that. What's happening in El Salvador right now, this is something that Max Kaiser and Stacy Herbert are a part of, is the volcano mining project. They're doing wind and solar mining. It's $1 billion mining project in El Salvador.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Now you've got this little country, the Bhutan. These little countries are going to be, all of a sudden, all these countries that are doing Bitcoin, it's going to be like a million little Monaco type Switzerland countries that just have crazy wealth, while America just fumbles around looking for another war to waste money on.
Well, here's the thing too, is that why you have to understand why these countries are doing it. And it's a scary thing for the American military industrial complex. A lot of these countries are doing it, Graham, because they don't want to be tied to the petrodollar. Yeah. They don't want to be tied to the US. They don't want to be pulled into World War III if something else happens. That's what people aren't talking about. And that's the scary thing for America, not Americans, because most Americans don't care about these wars, for the US government, that these countries are doing it to decouple from the USD as the world reserve currency, because they don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
They don't want to be a part of the BS anymore. They don't want to be, oh, you're not going to do what we say. Guess what? We're going to assassinate your president and put in a puppet, president in your South American country. South America as a continent has, the reason that they're so pro Bitcoin is because they are the countries, the entire continent of South America has been manipulated by the US.
Central and South America
has been manipulated by the US government with multiple puppet leaders,
decades,
multiple coups, because they were so dependent on our trade and our USD. And that's something that's not talked about.
Yeah.
And that's why Central and South America is so interested in getting away from the US dollar, because this is kind of like they're not saying like we're breaking up with you, US, but they're like, we're kind of seeing other people.
Yeah. You're kind of a bad neighbor.
You're kind of violent.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, you're a bad boyfriend, but this other guy. So
other guy doesn't sell drug cartels your weapons.
And like beat me and like put in like a puppet, president for, that's like pro US for like 20 years.
Pinochet.
So that's why Central and South America is so pro crypto, because they have been under the thumb of the USD for so long. And I'm glad that you have a great following and you have people that follow you and people listen, but they're demonetizing YouTube channels. They're cutting people off that are talking. This is like a real thing. Like, look, sometimes I get scared like talking about stuff like this.
I've been demonetized for 2.5 years. I just got it back in July. And so I'll be very honest with you. I've toned it down.
You have to.
I have to. I literally, and I had Richard Medhurst on my show yesterday, who's, he's Palestinian, and they yanked his channel.
I have friends that have been shadow banned. I have friends that they never, nobody ever sees their posts because they're posting a lot of political stuff. They're being critical.
I lose the height of my subscription was in June of 2020, right? When the pandemic hit, I started going live 5 days a week. And I went.
You've been flagged for misinformation before. Things that were like not misinformation.
Not for misinformation at all. I mean, I literally was just going through, and a bunch of my videos about Epstein that I just dropped, they just turned off the monetization. So I had to physically go back and click it back on. So they turned it off, and then they're going to review it, and they still might say, no, it's bad.
And I do believe that big tech is in bed with the US government.
It's not even a matter of debate. I mean, there's a book out called When Google Met WikiLeaks. And in 2011, Eric Schmidt, the head of Google, met with Julian Assange and WikiLeaks and was like, hey, and Julian Assange admits he was a little naive and was like, oh, let's just two guys having a tech talk. And read the book. He recorded the conversation, put the whole transcript out there. And then after he saw what Google did with it, he was like, oh, they just took my technology and they're using it for data collection. So he has hard evidence that Google has been doing data collection for the intelligence community. Eric Schmidt has ties to the CIA. So it's not some kind of wild tinfoil hat kind of thing.
It sucks because you do sound like, I'm not saying you, I'm just saying people sound like a conspiracy theorist when you talk about some of the stuff and people aren't aware of what's happening. You sound like a nut job, and it's just really scary that some of these things are true, but they're so crazy that they don't sound true.
and unfortunately, the way Americans have been propagandized, unless Rachel Maddow tells you that it's happening, or Anderson Cooper, or whoever you trust, Tucker Carlson or whatever, like, you don't believe it. So and then it's like,
or they're focusing on Kim Kardashian's like hairstyle.
Sure. Yeah. Or they're just again, like the Israel Palestine thing is a fine example. It's like, oh my God, innocent Israelis died. That's awful. That's awful. Where were you over the summer when 200 Palestinians were killed? Like, it's always just this half of the story. I'm not sitting here saying fake news. I don't like that. The media, I don't think they just lie 24/7. They just frame it in a certain way that they only tell you part of the story. And it's so like, it's pick one of them. Bitcoin's bad for the environment. It uses all this energy. And the media never says, oh, this is how much energy the central banks are using. You know how much energy is used for an ATM? You know how much money Wall Street uses? You know how much, gee, who's the number one polluter of the environment? The United States military.
Or again, as I've said multiple times, we're on the petrodollar.
Yes.
It's in the name.
It's in the name. Like, they won't mention any of that. So
the petrodollar's not bad for the environment. Like,
again, you're some average American who's busted.
You barely can get by because the currency's being devalued at 10 to 15%. You're trying to pay your bills. You don't have time to do research. You don't have time to be politically active. You don't have time to go and look up if Bernie Sanders made, $300 billion from the war machine. You just don't have time.
You get 20 minutes of news a day, probably on your drive to work. You listen to some news channel and you try to get as informed as you can off of that. And hey, that's the best you can do. And the system is designed to keep you so busy and burnt out.
Yeah, I'm not blaming those people because they're trying to get by. They're trying to live their lives.
They're all victims of this corrupt system that deliberately misleads and propagandizes us. So then when somebody just throws something out there, they say, oh, I heard
Bitcoin was bad for the environment.
Drug dealers use it.
Yeah. And I'm a mom in Ohio, and I want to recycle and help the environment.
Yes.
You're like, no.
And I don't want to help drug dealers.
I don't want to support Hamas or drug cartels.
Yes. And you're like,
You're like, no.
That's neither do I. You're not hearing me.
You're like, take this orange pill.
Well, let me ask you this as we wrap up here, Rosie. I really appreciate your time. This is really
Oh,
cool.
you're making me leave?
No, we're gonna do another 5 hours.
Oh
So
my
we're gonna
gosh.
go. It's a 24-hour. Well, first of all, in the chat, you can support the show. Super chats are back. They're back, you guys. So it's a great way to support our show. I've already had several hundred. What I was gonna say, I got up to 78,000 subscribers in June of 2020, and since that time. Since the demonetization in 2021, the number has gone down. I'm down to 72,000. I lose subscribers all the time, even though I'm going live more. Not since I got my monetization back, I've been doing more live streams and more clips. My numbers are still coming down.
Why do you think that is?
I think I'm just under the flag. I think they gave me my money back because some algorithm change or some robot AI went. Because I got this email telling me like, this is how you monetize your show. Like I'm some new.
Yeah.
Like I just got my 1,000th subscriber to qualify. And I was like, oh, sure. I'll sign up for this thing that I did 7 years ago. Yeah, you got it. But I'm still flagged and shadow banned. And, even like my interview with Richard Medhurst, I just said, Richard Medhurst talks about the Middle East. That's what I put in the title.
Were you the one who was telling me that they banned you from Times Square?
Yeah, that was me.
Your picture, right?
My picture.
And it was like, and it said your face was like controversial or something.
It was the photo was here. I'll show you if I have it on my computer. I'll show you this.
You tried to like buy an ad in Times Square, right? For your comedy show.
Yeah. Where is that?
I want to see your controversial face.
This is. I want you to see. Yeah, this is so controversial.
You're definitely on a list. I'm scared.
I'm so on a list. It's not even.
You're so on the list.
I'm so on a list.
It's all your Epstein stuff.
Oh, that's for sure what it is.
That's for sure.
It's totally what it is. It's the Epstein stuff and then the anti-war stuff. Where is it? It will be under this. Special to from. Where is it? Oh, dang it. I know I didn't get rid of it. Where did I put that?
I'm so upset. I want to see your controversial face.
Oh, where is that? Dang it.
It's okay. I just remember you had said something about your face being like too controversial for New York Times Square.
Yeah, well, here's what the ad said. The ad said, whatever the date was, like Tuesday, Graham Elwood live, Tuesday, October 18th, 8 o'clock. Broadway Comedy Club, tickets at broadwaycomedyclub.com, and a photo of me holding a microphone on stage. Too political. It was called Too Political. So then, and this is through this billboard company. It was one of those digital billboards in Times Square.
Cut to Graham holding a machine gun.
Yeah, yeah, just I heart Hamas or whatever, the shirt. Like, and this is the new, and I said, let's try this. See if this gets approved. I then put special secret comedy show, Tuesday, October 18th, 8 p.m., broadwaycomedyclub.com. And I put a question mark over my face. Because I thought, well, maybe this would create hype. That got approved.
So it's your face that's too political.
And my name.
And your name. Wow, you're on a list, dude.
I'm so on
You're
a list.
so on a list.
I'm so on a list. It's not even funny. I had, when my special dropped in March, I bought 5 different Instagram ads, like clips of my special, go watch the special here at YouTube or whatever. All 5 were rejected for community guidelines, too political.
I also was banned from leaving comments on your thing.
Yes, you got banned.
I got banned because of your share character, whatever. What is her name?
Oh, Darianne?
Darianne.
Yeah. Hey guys. Yeah.
I had put a comment that I wanted to send him a wig, and that was blocked and banned by Instagram.
Oh wow. Or Shim, was it Shy Shim or
Shy Shim or
oh,
whatever.
Shy
Shy
Shim is her
Shim's
boyfriend.
boyfriend.
Yeah.
you need to get a blonde wig. I said, send me your address, your new address, and I'll send you a wig. And they banned it. They blocked it and banned it, and I couldn't leave comments for 3 days because I said I was going to send you a wig.
Yeah, that's offensive. That is a politically anarchist move, is to send me a wig for a character.
I don't know. Maybe because I asked for your address, so that was like not appropriate or something.
But banned for 3 days? It doesn't.
I was banned for 3 days for saying, I was like, send me your address. I want to send you a wig for this character.
Wow. They're like, she's a psycho. She's going to send her real hair. She's not.
Cut to Graham like flagging my comment.
Rosie's going over the top.
Oh, damn it. I should have bought you a wig and brought it today. I really want to get you a wig for that character.
I'm going to do it. So let me, wigs, what is it? Wigs are what Hamas wants. That's funny. Thank you in the chat. Great chat. You guys do the super chats. It's a great way to support the show. Let's see if there's anybody over on, hey, we got one over on Rockfin. Leftover beefcake, shave your knuckles for justice. Thank you for supporting us at Rockfin. Go to rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. It is free to sign up. And if you, become a Rockfin premium member for $10 a month, you get all of my premium content, all of Rosie's premium content. Rosie, what's your channel on Rockfin?
Rosie Tran.
Rosie Tran. And everybody's free content. Ron Placone, Lee Camp, anybody who's on there. If you like MMA and conspiracies, then Rockfin is for you. Leftover Beefcake, doing my part to support the show. Thank you, Leftover Beefcake. He is the captain of the USS Zumwalt. He's out there in the high seas doing the good work. What is it? Darian loves cat ears. Where I know I hate getting into like sort of predictions or whatever, but we've talked a lot about it, you being on the show. But as we look at this kind of landscape, right? America's really itching to get into another ground war. We literally could have ground troops in the Middle East again.
We literally could have universal health care.
Can't afford that. That we can't
Stop with the wars.
Yeah. 2 wars we can afford, no problem.
No problem.
No problem.
We literally could have universal health care with all of this war money.
China sent a carrier group in there. The Middle East could get really scary. I don't like to just fear monger, but because it doesn't do any good for my mental health. But
it's scary. Yeah.
Looking at that scary, looking at then the, where Bitcoin plays a role in this, like we're looking at, is the American economy going to have a big collapse with the housing market? There's a commercial real estate bubble that all these businesses that nobody's using them since post-COVID. It's crazy. The commercial real estate bubble, I don't know that that's going to burst as quickly because of the reasons we talked about. People such as yourself are not going to sell.
We're trapped. We're literally trapped.
You're trapped.
I love my place, but we're trapped.
You're trapped. So we're going into a presidential election. Joe Biden's health is hanging in. Literally a year from now, it could be.
It's scary. If I see another video where a politician doesn't know what's happening, there's literally like 10 of them where you're like, Mr. McConnell, Mr. Biden, and they're just like,
yeah, they're just sitting there like.
I'm actually not making fun of it because my dad, died a few years ago and he was on a mental decline. It's concerning.
The example with that specifically I make is my dad went on that decline too. And he was driving still. And I talked to my brother and sisters, like, we got to get dad out of the car. He can't drive anymore. The difference is, that was a Prius in Chicago. This is the leaders of the free world.
Yeah.
This is like, my dad didn't have access to launch codes. That's just, his Prius didn't come with that option. Some of them do.
That's scary. It's scary for the people who are these like shell of a people.
They're zombies. Our country is run by zombies. So
yeah,
with that, I know I'm including a lot of like big things. How do you, and with what we're talking about, where Bitcoin could go? How do you where do you see this? Where do you see this next 12 months?
So hashtag not financial advice. I don't know what the next 12 months brings. Honestly, I've been saying this for years, and this is based off of my understanding of Bitcoin and Ether, which are the only two that I ever do a price prediction for. And also, and this is what it's based off of. One, network effects. I don't know if you know what that is.
Explain what that is to our audience.
So network effects is that the value of the network increases with each additional node to the network. So the more and more people that learn about Bitcoin or Ether or other cryptocurrencies, but specifically Bitcoin, the stronger the Bitcoin network becomes, and it's an exponential growth. So it's not in a vacuum. So if someone learns about Bitcoin and they're really passionate about it, they tell their friends, they buy into it, they stake it, they do other things, and that's an exponential. It's like a social network. It's why Facebook is worth so much money, or Google is, because it compounds on top of each other. So with the network effects, with the institutional money that's set to come in the next 5 to 10 years, with the state of our collapsing dollar, which is extremely sad to say, with the fact that a lot of countries in Central and South America are adopting it as a global reserve currency, with the fact that a lot of countries in Africa are adopting it as a global reserve currency. All of those factors, I believe that Ether will be around 50,000. I believe that Bitcoin will be around 100,000 to $1 million. I know that's a really vague and large number, but it depends on how fast the adoption is. I think eventually it will be worth $1 million a coin or more. And I think that in the next few years, Bitcoin could easily go to 100,000 easily. I mean, it's already peaked at what, 65,000?
Almost 69. Yeah.
Yeah. 69,000. So that's not insane to say 100,000.
No, not at all.
And the fact of the matter is,
especially when just to give that 12, but 14-month cycle, Bitcoin crashed in March of 2020 because of the global shutdown. It was at 3,900. And then by April of 2021, it was at 69,000. So it went,
69,000.
it is a massive increase. That is a $65,000 increase per coin. So
that's huge.
That's not crazy to say we could be at 100 grand.
Correct. And it's also not crazy because you can go outside. We can go outside this Russian strip club or where we are right now. And I can throw a penny and hit a random person and ask them if they know what Bitcoin or Ether or crypto is. And they probably won't know what it is. So there's still a giant market of people that have no idea what it is, that are still being educated about it. And so and I don't know anyone that proselytizes and praises and goes on, evangelizing about the US dollar, about the petrodollar, about in certain investments. But every Bitcoiner I know is like in a cult.
It is a little bit of an orange pill.
Every orange pill person is like, let me tell you about this. And so the base of it is very passionate and pretty well educated, because you kind of have to go down the rabbit hole and be like, hey, why do we need this? Oh yeah, the central bank's messed up. Yeah, that is kind of messed up. Hey, I lost my home in 2008 and that is kind of messed up. Hey, wait a minute, they're bailing them out. What? And so
they gambled away my pension.
Exactly. And so anyone who was hit by 2008, which is like most people, are going to be like, once they find out about it, they do tend to evangelize about it and are very passionate about it. And a lot of people don't trust the government. So, trust in the federal government is at an all-time low. And so I'm taking into account all these factors when I make these price predictions, which are not financial advice, but I'm taking into account all these factors and all of the research I've done. And this isn't just research I've done. A lot of this is research from Wall Street hedge funds as well. And this is a GameStop moment. This is a time that the average Joe, the retail investor, can be ahead of Wall Street. A lot of people are like, well, Bitcoin's 34,000. That's too much. You can put $10 in. You can put $100 in. It doesn't cost anything to lose $100, but to have the potential of it being worth tens of thousands of dollars is, I think, worth it for anyone. And
when Bitcoin was at $2,000, people went, "Oh, I blew it. I missed it. I should have bought it at $100."
Yeah.
So believe me, if it goes to $1 million a coin, 35,000 will seem like nothing.
And so I think that all of those factors take into account, all these reports. Fidelity Investments has a huge report where they think, everything's going towards Bitcoin, decentralized finance, DeFi. And so also a lot of people, when Bitcoin crashed from 60, sorry, I forgot what you said, 69 or whatever, down to 30, they're like, well, it's over, it's dead. That's a very naive point of view, because you have to understand, it's not just Bitcoin. There's companies around Bitcoin, startups, there's people building. They're not going to drop their entire life's work. I mean, you're going to laugh at me. I'm actually working on a project that I'm consulting with a company that's doing a virtual strip club. I'm not joking because
Hi.
I'll tell you about it later after we're off the air.
Yeah, you guys need any male strippers? I'm in.
They're doing like a virtual strip club or whatever, and this is like this guy's life's work, and he's been working on this for like years, and he's not just gonna like drop his entire life's work and walk away from it because Bitcoin went down,
right,
or whatever. So
they're just gonna hang tight. All like the Bitcoiners I met, especially in El Salvador, these are like diehard Bitcoin hodlers, man. They're just like, I'm gonna hang on to it right now. They're just being a little conservative right now.
Yeah.
But when it starts popping, they're gonna like spend more money again.
So that's my prediction. It's not, I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not, a Wall Street, numbers person, but I am someone that's really passionate about it. And I am someone who's done a lot of research. And, like Michael Saylor always says, unless you've done 100 hours on Bitcoin, like just shut up about it.
Yeah.
I think I've done over 100 hours. So right. I have a lot to say.
Rosie, thank you so much for coming into Little Chechnya and doing our show here today. Where can people find you online, watch your show, your podcast, see your live shows?
Yeah, I'm on Rockfin. My Rockfin name is Rosie Tran. I'm on all the other platforms at Funny Rosie, except for Instagram, because someone took at Funny Rosie, but they're not using it. So my Instagram is Out of the Box Rosie, and that's based on my podcast, Out of the Box Podcast with Rosie Tran. I also have a crypto podcast called Hello Crypto Kitty 2.0 and a bunch of other stuff. So just Google Rosie Tran comedy. I'm the only Rosie Tran that's a comedian, but there's like other Rosie Trans
right
do other stuff.
Thank you. Have you watched Palm Strike Dance Party? Yes, that's why. Check this out. Thank you, Blaze Saver Wolf. Hello, Annabelle Corley. Everybody in the chat, Holly Horn and Blaze Saver Wolf are our libertarians took COVID money and bought Bitcoin. Yep, a lot of people did that. Thank you to everybody. Shimshay, yes. The kicker was, yes, JFK assassination talk with Lee Camp. That was what put YouTube over the top. Thank you all for guys asking cool questions and for the super chats. And of course, the tips over on the Rockfin. Thank you to everybody watching on YouTube, Twitch, and the Rockfin. We really appreciate it. And all the likes, hit the like button. We will be live tomorrow, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern, doing Government Secrets with Lee Camp. And we're going to try to do these in-person things at this cool facility. It's called Nova 3. They're on, I think it's at Nova 3 Studios on Instagram. It's a cool facility here. This is also where we're going to be doing the Anything Can Happen live, in-person and online game show, December 7th. More information will be available. Once I have a ticket link, I will put that at grahamelwood.com. And of course, if you're going to be in El Salvador, November 7th through the 9th, come to the Adopting Bitcoin Conference. I'm going to, on the first day, the 7th, I'm going to be emceeing like on a panel talking Bitcoin all day. And then November 8th, that night at 6 o'clock, we are going to be doing the Bitcoin Hollywood comedy show with myself, Mona Sheikh, and Max Kaiser.
That's so cool.
Right? In El Salvador. It's be so rad. It'll be my second time going to that country. I love that country. I will be living there eventually. So near the beach, surfing. Hey. So check that out. And I can't wait. Oh God, 50,000 a coin for Ethereum. I was like, oh my God, if that happens.
I don't think that's that unreasonable, actually.
What's your time frame for that? Not financial advice.
5 years. I think with all of the reason I think that about Ethereum is because of all the dApps that they're developing on top of it. So Bitcoin is awesome. It's digital gold, but Ethereum has so many decentralized finance dApps that are being developed on top of it, on top of the network. And so I think that is, I mean, the projects are just insane. You know, it's going to revolutionize real estate transactions. It's going to revolutionize escrow for different, it's going to revolutionize contracts, legal contracts. So I think it's a way to validate. It's a way to validate, hey, because you can put in certain codes that if this, then this, right? So, hey, you don't have the title of this property until XYZ are met. And so a lot of things are done very inefficiently now and just in a really weird, convoluted way. And it's going to just take all of that out. And a lot of people are adopting it in other countries. I think I saw like BNC Mellon was adopting Tezos, which is a smart contract technology with some of their contracts. So this blockchain technology is another form of, it's just a way for things to be transparent. We talked about this too with the writer strike and the actor strike, of having transparency. Transparency is something that's so important because you can't argue it. It's right there. Hey, look, Hamas doesn't want to take donations because, look, you can find out who's donating to who, right? And so that transparency is why Bitcoin and crypto and contracts that are on the blockchain need to be trusted, because I think that's why a lot of government is afraid of it too, because they don't want
people to know. They don't want to see how corrupt their money. They don't want to see what they do. Two things. They take our tax dollars and waste it, and then they just print money and waste it. And then when they say the printing the money is probably the thing they really don't want us to know, because it's like, how are we going to pay for it? Just print some more money.
Exactly. And that's where the inflation comes from. That's where the devaluing of the currency comes from. So I wish I was smarter and could explain some of this stuff better. The problem is it's so much information.
It is complex.
It's very complex. And that's actually one of the reasons I didn't get into Bitcoin and crypto in the beginning, because I thought, I'm not smart enough to understand this.
I'm not a tech guy. I'm not a developer. I felt the same thing. Like, I'm not a programmer. I'm not going to get this.
I'm not going to get it. And once I took the deep dive and actually took my time, I'm like, okay, actually I get the gist of it, the general gist of it, but I'm not smart enough to explain it. But people that are smarter than me have, and it made sense what they said. So I'm trying to relay that to the watchers and listeners.
For sure. Thank you so much, Rosie. Thank you to everybody in the chat on the Rockfin and the YouTube and the Twitch. Thank you to the what was I going to say? Oh, the super chatters. And of course, if you look at the scroll below right there, there's other ways to support our show. You can go to patreon.com/Graham. This entire conversation will be on Patreon in a matter of minutes. And also this will be on Rockfin Premium in a matter of minutes. And then we'll take parts of this and we'll clip it out and spread it out for free. So, but if you can support us anyway, that's great. And also I have a Venmo account at Graham-Elwood. Make sure there's a dash between my first and last name. There's an at Graham-Elwood on there. That's not me. It's a hustler. And there's a P.O. box at grahamelwood.com. Some of you want to stay off the grid and you want to donate anonymously. That's a great way to do it anonymously. And I have a Bitcoin and Ethereum wallet that are in the comment section of my videos on YouTube. And so you can just donate right to my wallet and nobody knows who you are. So that's how you do that. So thank you for supporting our show. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth, and shave your knuckles for justice. Ba-boom. Thank you, Rosie.